Hi, I am Monica Brandt, one of the world's first true fitness pioneers starting back in 1991. I helped launch the fitness industry while traveling internationally, meeting fans worldwide to share my style of fitness to the bodybuilding community. After a decade of fitness competitions, I earned one of the world's most prestigious titles, the IFBB Fitness Olympia Championships. Moving into the new millennium, I was the first IFBB Fitness Olympia athlete to transition into the new professional figure division and compete for close to another 20 years. After 15 years as an IFBB professional, I tried another organization and won the WBFF World Pro Figure Championships both 2010 and 2013. I am a true athlete and made my way into racing into the Masters USATF sprint events, placing top 3 at the World's Masters track meet in all 3 events, the 100, 200, and 400 meter races. Besides athletics, I have been honored with over 100 magazine covers both nationally and internationally. Since it's always a blessing to share with others, over the last 15 years, I've hosted women's fitness events and worked with the clients, helping them discover how to live radiantly in all areas of life, body, mind, soul, and spirit. The Monica Brandt Show is one of the ways I am honoring the legendary athletes, powerhouse individuals, and nutrition gurus that have laid a strong foundation in the past, help keep the current industry flowing, and offer inspiration to the next generations. Monica Brandt Show, and I'm so excited to see you guys. I'm ready to do something different. I don't know about you guys, but I have been just kind of overwhelmed with politics and all the stuff going on, and I'm really ready for something different. Of course, I'm kind of getting back to my roots with, nutrition and health and fitness, and getting to talk to someone today that I've known for a few years, and I'm really excited about bringing him and his wealth of information to you guys. So you guys get ready, and let's introduce my guest tonight, my very special guest tonight. He is a Mayo Clinic fellowship and board certified orthopedic surgeon. He performs very delicate, complex revision surgeries of the spine. He's a health advocate and recently launched both his CyrXMD skincare and nutrition lines. We're going to talk about all of that, you guys. He's a husband and a father to 4 beautiful, very talented children, and I'm so excited for you guys to meet. And please help me welcome my friend, Dr. Steven Cyr. Let's bring him in, Kona.
Dr. Steven Cyr is a Mayo Clinic fellowship-trained spine surgeon. He's earned a sterling reputation in performing complex revision surgeries of the spine. His countless reviews and testimonials speak volumes to both the quality of his outcomes and his compassionate bedside manner. If you're looking for a surgeon you can trust, someone who will focus on your individualized needs to craft the perfect surgical solution, look no further. Call us to get your life back.
Hello, Dr. Cyr.
Hello. How are you?
I'm awesome. It's so good to see you. And thank you so much for taking time tonight for my show and for all our viewers. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to see you as well.
Thank you. I know something different than the normal kind of what's going on in the world right now. How is that affecting you and business, or is it affecting you in business at all?
Oh, I think it's affecting us tremendously in the healthcare world. As you know, I'm not one of the frontline emergency room or ICU doctors, but when we have patients in the hospital that have COVID, we have to maintain a capacity for COVID patients so that our hospital sometimes has to shut down to elective surgery, which is what I primarily do. So as a spine surgeon, if the hospital is unable to take care of our patients because they're taking care of COVID patients, it has a dramatic impact on my practice. And in addition to that, people are coming in less. We've been seeing people by telemedicine, which is kind of a new thing for me. I'm a hands-on surgeon, and so I like to see people in person. I like to examine them, personally, and we've been limited because of COVID. So there's been a dramatic impact, at least with COVID. Of course, the political stuff always has an impact, but right now COVID has been the thing that's hit us the hardest, and we're just praying for the country to turn this thing around really quickly so we can all get back to life and work.
Right. Well, I mean, and so many people need you and need what you do. So it's really important that we get to have this peace back in our lives so that we can have you working on people and getting people walking again. So tonight, where are you? You in San Antonio or you in Houston?
Well, I'm in San Antonio tonight in my clinic. I just finished clinic. I had surgery earlier today, and then I saw a couple of people today in clinic, and now I'm talking to you, my longtime friend.
So talk to me a little bit about surgery today, because you're here, like you look like no big deal, like just another day. What does surgery look like for you? And then how are you able to just pop on here and look fresh and ready to go?
I don't know. My life has been, I guess I've always had extra work on my plate. I've always assumed extra responsibility, even dating way back to college when I played football and I was pre-med and I took 18 hours, and I always make sure that I'm busy. When I was in the Air Force, when I was a chief of spine surgery in the Air Force, I worked jobs outside of the military in addition to my full-time active duty work. And so, working long hours has been part of my life since my training began. And when I went to Mayo, a lot of what we did in my training was complicated spine surgery. So I've carried that into my practice. This is my 17th year as a spine surgeon. And so I still do Mayo level type surgeries, which are complicated, and some of them 8 to 12 or 15 hours long. So doing a long surgery or having a long day is just part of my life, and I've become accustomed to doing that. And when I'm in San Antonio, because I'm not here as often lately, I see patients after I do surgery. So I have to be fresh. And so, I have to practice what I preach. I'm talking to my patients all day about staying fit and supplementing their nutrition and just making sure that they're able to live an active and fit lifestyle. So I want to be a model of that for my patients when I'm talking to them about living that way. I have to represent that as a doctor for them as well.
Wow. Well, you certainly do that. And you can see you're in great shape. And I know every time I've seen you and your family, all of your family, and you look like you're always in tip-top shape. So I know you practice what you preach for sure. And I want to get into some of these topics. Before I do that, I just want to give a quick shout out to my sponsors. And I'm so excited to have CyrXMD as our new title sponsor. So thank you for that awesome sponsorship here. And with that, tonight we have a special giveaway to our viewers, so you guys can receive some products from the brand new line, CyrXMD Nutrition. So there's a fun question here before we kind of get into all of it. And this is definitely about you, Dr. Cyr. You have a secret talent. So So viewers, and thank you guys for joining us tonight. I haven't exactly acknowledged you guys, so apologize for that. But thank you so much for joining. And tonight, any of you, and I'm so sorry that I see there's some people from South America, or at least Jose's from South America. So thank you so much for joining us tonight from all over the country. But I wanted to throw out this question. So if any of you guys are interested in getting some free product tonight from CyrXMD Nutrition Line, what is Dr. Cyr's secret talent? And if you go over to some of his social media, you'll be able to find that secret talent. All right, so secret talent, the first person to answer the question correctly in the comments, please you have to be USA resident just because of shipping this time. So at any rate, ready, set, go, guys. In the comments, list it, and we will be happy to send you some free product from the CyrXMD Nutrition Line. So, Doc, let's get into a little bit of how you became this Mayo Clinic board-certified top doctor. Like, I don't even know if I can describe it correctly, and forgive me if I don't say it all exactly correct, but it's way above my understanding and knowledge. I know that you have all kinds of credentials. And so can you tell me, like, or tell us from your childhood, how did you go from childhood to, you know, how did you become this amazing doctor?
Well, thank you. I don't know if amazing. I try to do my best. You know, so it started a long time ago. When I was 4 years old, my father was in the Air Force, like I was in the past, and he was a PA. And as a PA, I got to see what he did. I'd go to the clinic every once in a while, and I'd see him take care of patients, and he'd introduce me to patients, and he was always my doctor at home. You know, he took care of us. I never went to a doctor. My father was the one who fixed my broken arm and sewed my split lip when I was a little kid. And from like a very early age, at the age of 4, I realized that I wanted to be a doctor. So I've always wanted to be a doctor. I also always wanted to be a football player. So I played football all the way through high school and college. And my initial plan was to go to medical school after I played in the NFL, right? So you know, things don't always work out the way you plan, but that was my original goal. And when I was in college, I was a running back in college. I played at Southwest Texas, which is now called Texas State University. And my first year, I had to have my ACL ligament reconstructed. So I had my ACL reconstructed, and I was worried that I wouldn't be able to come back and play as a running back. But when I had my ligament reconstructed and I came back, I was able to run almost as fast as I had before. And I was able to take a hit to the knee. And I was so impressed with my ability to come back. It was at that moment that I knew that orthopedic surgery was going to be the specialty that I focused on, because that's a specialty that takes care of athletes. And so I actually applied early to medical school because my father recommended it, and I got in. So I went to medical school here in San Antonio, where my family is. And then I did that on an Air Force scholarship to help cover the cost of medical school. So I accrued a military commitment. And then when I went into the military, ultimately I became an orthopedic surgeon. And then when I was doing my residency, our residencies last 5 years. So it's medical school 4 years after college, and then 5 years of residency. And during that residency training, I realized that sports surgery wasn't as exciting as I thought it was. As an athlete and as a patient, I was more excited about what it could do. And I'm still impressed by what sports surgery does, but I started to find it a little bit repetitive, and I wasn't as interested as I thought I would be in it. Mm-hmm. And I also realized that the lifestyle was kind of challenging, because most orthopedic sports doctors actually cover high school teams, and they work Friday nights covering teams and Saturdays doing clinics. And I just felt like it may not be the lifestyle that I wanted, because I'm really family focused, and I knew that one day I'd have a family, and I didn't want to take that weekend time away from my family. So I started looking at different specialties, and actually, believe it or not, for a short time, I considered plastic surgery. I considered just leaving the orthopedic field altogether and going into cosmetic surgery, because I also have always been very interested in cosmesis and cosmetic procedures. But then I thought, well, let me look really closely at my next rotation, which was spine. And one of my mentors from the time I was in medical school through my residency was a spine surgeon who trained at Harvard, and one of the guys I respect most in the world when it comes to orthopedic surgery of the spine. His name was Mike Yazimski. And so when I did my spine rotation, I really kind of fell in love with the field, because it takes a specific kind of focus. You have to have a very patient mind and a very steady hand, and you have to be really willing to take big chances and to do risky surgeries that last hours and hours. And I found it very different from the typical orthopedic surgeries, which can be really quick, sometimes an hour to 2 hours. 4 hours was too long for them, and 4 hours is a short spine surgery. So it just worked better with my personality, and I felt like I could really love spine surgery and become eventually an authority in a field where very few people did it well, and you typically had to be fellowship trained to be an authority in spine surgery. So I didn't want to be in a field where everybody could do it. I wanted to be in something that was very highly specialized. Mm-hmm. And so I decided that I would do a spine surgery fellowship, and I was luckily accepted to be the only spine fellowship trained doctor that year for the Air Force. So that meant that when I came back from my fellowship, I would be the chief of spine surgery for the entire Air Force. And then I'd be the Pentagon's consultant and the consultant to the Surgeon General as well. So I wanted to make sure that I went to the best program I could get into. And so I searched around the country, and Mayo was the program that I felt was the best program. And I was, again, blessed enough to get into that program. I was the only fellow trained that year by the Mayo Clinic orthopedic and neurosurgical departments. Both departments share the responsibility of training the fellow. So we had a dual exposure and a dual experience. And as a result, I think a much different perspective on spine surgery than most non-fellowship trained spine surgeons, or even non-fellowship trained spine surgeons, because most of them do not have both neurosurgery and orthopedic surgery mentors. So that was a huge gift to me as a training surgeon. So when I came back to the military and I was the chief of spine surgery, I really felt prepared to do some of the really complicated surgeries I did with very little help. I was the main guy, so I didn't have any partners to back me up, and I didn't have anybody that I could have, scrub in with me and help me do these surgeries. So I was kind of a trial by fire, and I was really pleased that my outcomes were never really compromised, and I was able to do pretty good work. And it included some of the most complicated surgeries of the spine, from the base of the skull all the way down to the tailbone. So it really worked out for me. And in my time in the military, I was also a professor of orthopedic surgery, training residents and medical students and PA fellows. And then eventually in 2010, my commitment with the military was up after 14 years of active duty. I went to Iraq twice during that time and saw some of the horrendous atrocities of war, and had to work on a lot of injured patients and soldiers, airmen, Marines, everybody you can imagine. And I was really, really honored to be able to take care of people that had put themselves and their lives and their health on the line for our country and for other people's countries as well. So that time ended in 2010, and then I went full-time into my civilian practice in San Antonio, where my family is, and then eventually we branched out to Houston a couple of years ago, and things have been going really well. So I'm kind of teetering between San Antonio and Houston, and just trying to take care of as many people as I can. Yeah. So.
I just feel a little overwhelmed with how much success you've had. And I just know that God has blessed you tremendously, and that you're using the talents and the gifts that he's given you so wisely. I'm just amazed. Like it's so much, and you just say it so quickly, like, matter of fact, this is what I did. And it's amazing. It really is overwhelming and a little bit mind boggling of what all you've accomplished in your life and how much you've done. And, just at what peace that you are in, like the peace that you have right now. When I've been around you and your family and talked to you, like there's just so much history there, and there's so much peace there. It's a testimony of who you are and the man that you've, been, and who God has created, and how you're living that life. So I just want to kind of go back a couple of things, because sure. I never graduated college. I started it, but I never graduated. And so I know you've had so much success, and maybe this is something that in your mind, like it's such a minor thing, but for me, I look at it, I'm like, how cool would that be? So I wanted to know, you graduated as a valedictorian and summa cum laude honors in college. What was that like? And that was before Air Force, right? Like,
yeah. So when I went to college,
yeah,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm just like, I want to know, like, did you know that you were working towards that? Or is that something a student going through college would say, that's a goal I want to have? Number one, and number two, like, how hard is that actually to make, or was that easy for you? Because it seems like, everything you've done, you're like, oh, success. Like it just feels like everything you've done is super easy for you, but nothing you've done is easy. So it's just how it comes across.
It wasn't easy. I don't think anything worthwhile. And you've been there, whether you're a doctor or you're a fitness athlete, you've reached the pinnacle of whatever you do that you've been gifted with. I mean, that takes work and effort and struggle, and sometimes there's failures there. My life hasn't been always easy. I've partnered with people that were dishonest, and I've had doctors in my practice who didn't do anything, it didn't work, and I've had people that betrayed me, and things happen in life. But the peace that I have, and I thank you for noticing that and saying that, the peace that I have honestly comes from my faith. And no matter what my struggles are or what kind of challenges I've faced, I always turn to my faith when things seem tough, and God has always pulled me through. Getting deployed to Iraq is hard. Working really hard in college is hard. Getting that accolade as the valedictorian. I actually didn't even know I was the valedictorian, to be honest. I worked really hard because I wanted to be a doctor, and I knew that in order to get into medical school, I had to have good grades. Mm-hmm. And so, in addition to practicing sometimes a total of 6 hours a day, and including watching film and football, I took a very heavy course load, and I had to work really hard. I never drank in my life, and I know you don't. I've never drank. I've never partied. I've never done anything that would compromise or steer me away from my goal. I've always been very goal oriented ever since I was in high school, and I knew that I was going to play football and I was going to be a doctor. Period. Nothing was going to stop me from doing that. And that's one of the things about, I think, education that really I try to instill in my children. Education is something that no one can steal from you. If you have the motivation to do well in school, you can be whatever you want to be. You can become anything you want to be. It takes a certain amount of drive. And I'm not saying that necessarily everybody can go to medical school, and everybody shouldn't go to medical school. You know,
Right. Right.
everybody has a different gift and a different blessing, and you need to see what that is and figure out how you can optimize that talent. But for those of us who have the ability and the interest in serving other people in that way, it takes a lot of work. You know, to get good grades is one thing. To be, you know, number one in your class is, I mean, I was actually shocked. I found that out because I got into medical school early. I got accepted after 3 years on a whim. My father told me to apply because I had a 4.0 and I played football. And so I did. And I didn't expect to get in. I still had 2 years of football to play, and I planned on playing, and I wanted to go to the NFL. But when I got into medical school, I had a real important decision to make. I had to decide, am I going to focus on school and go with something that I know for sure is already a done deal? Medical school is not easy to get into. Or do I keep working towards this wishful hope and maybe even pipe dream of becoming an NFL running back? And so I took what I thought was something that I had control over. There's a lot of politics in sports, and I actually started to see that in football in college. And I didn't want that to interfere with my ability to become a doctor, because ultimately that was my ultimate goal. And so I worked diligently. I studied every day. I had study techniques that really I used all the way through medical school that have always worked for me, and I've instilled those in my kids. And my daughter, who's 18, she just started at UCLA, which is a very, very difficult school to get into, and she used all my study techniques to really excel in school. And I think that those are the keys. You know, you have to be, number one, motivated, and you have to be diligent and attentive, and you have to just push yourself to your limits. Just like when you're trying to build your body, you know, you guys, all of you who have, you know, found extreme success in the fitness world, that doesn't come easy either. That you have to struggle and sweat, and you push yourself, you know. So in medical school, it's like a fire hydrant, you know, of knowledge. And so you have to stick with it and work really hard. But in college, it wasn't quite as hard. It was a little bit easier for me in college. The challenge really came in the volume in medical school.
Okay.
And that was, you know, academics have always kind of come easy to me, but nothing comes easy without a little bit of work. I mean, I say easy, but I worked really hard as well. I studied every day, and I'd sit in the front of the class. I sat in the front row. I only asked my teachers when I had questions. I studied every night. I would write notes every day, and then I'd read my notes before I got up. I'd study my notes before I went to bed at night. So by the time the end of the week came, I'd study my notes from the week. And so then I found it easy to get a 4.0. And those are just simple techniques that worked for me in school, but it came with some effort for sure.
So are these the techniques, the study techniques that you're shared with Alexa? Are those, are there more? Because that sounds awesome, like sitting in the front and only talking. I think that's really important. Only talking to your professor. I mean, when I work with people on nutrition, I'm like, hey, if you're going to hire me to do your nutrition, don't talk to a bunch of other people. Just listen to what I have to say, right? Because otherwise you're going to get so confused. So it makes a lot of sense.
You have to, if you're taking a class from a professor, you want to know how they want you to work out problems, how they want you to think about a solution. And so for me, I never went to the student learning centers. I always felt like the student learning centers weren't going to be as equipped as I was. And so if I want information, I need help, I'm going to go to my professor. And when you start to do that, then your professors see that you want to form a bond with them, that you're interested in your education. And that carries a lot of weight with them. And it also shows you how they want you to think about problems. So yeah, what I told my daughter was, you know, when class starts again, sit in the front of the class, get to know your professor, go to their hours, ask them questions, take notes every day. And then you every day you look at your notes. You don't just read your notes. You rewrite your notes. You slowly cut them down and make them more succinct with time. And then by the end of the week, you've already read your notes 3 times. By the time the test comes, you're prepared to ace it. You know, so those are basic study skills that I think really work, and they really helped me all the way through college and medical school. So, yeah, that's exactly what I tell my kids, and it's worked really well.
Did you have any leadership from your parents on how to study like that? Because I think that's something that the kids lack in. Well, number one, nobody really teaches you how to study. I don't remember anyone teaching me how to study, except my mom helped me with some things and my dad tried. But, you know, like actually to study, that there's an art to that. And I think it's important that people learn how to do that. But there's not really leadership in learning how to study. So
yeah, you're right. A lot of people don't know how to study at all. They use the highlighter. They read. They don't write it out. They don't take notes. They don't create mnemonics. They don't create an outline form. You know, I have my daughter rewrite her notes over and over and then shorten them with each transcription so that by the time they've written it the third time, it's a study guide. It's actually an amazing study guide. And she has passed her study guides out to people in her class, and it has helped a lot of people get good grades as well. But yeah, those techniques, believe it or not, there was a videotape in the 80s by a guy named Claude Olney who created these videotapes called Where There's a Will, There's an A. And it was those videotapes that taught me all of these techniques. I was going to college, and I knew I wanted to go to medical school. So I watched that video, and I took everything that he said at heart, and I followed that in college. And I actually was shocked when I started getting all A's. My first semester, I was like, I got all A's. I was actually shocked. I had all A's in high school, but I just thought it wasn't possible playing football and having all A's in college with it. I took 18 hours a semester. I wasn't slacking.
No.
So when I got all A's, I was shocked. And then what I did, and what I've always done in my life, is I set a standard for myself. Okay, I can get all A's. I'm only going to get A's from now on. So I let myself slack from that. And whatever I had to do, whatever extra time I had to put into it to reach that goal was what I did. And that's what I've always done. You know, when I wanted to get into orthopedic surgery, I had to work extra time. And I went to lectures every single morning for 2 years to make sure they knew who I was. I took the test with the residents. I carried the call pager for the residents. I mean, I did everything above and beyond what was necessary, and I always have, so that I could reach that next stage. And I've been able to be successful in doing that.
Well, it definitely sounds like it, and just knowing all that you've shared is so much. So when you were in the Air Force, can you share with me what made you go into the Air Force? And thank you for your service, by the way. I know we just had Veterans Day. So what made you go into the Air Force? Because I kind of touched on that earlier. And I also was kind of curious if you could, and if this is not appropriate, then please just say, you know, pass. But I was curious if you could take us through a day of what it means or looks like to be a flight surgeon.
Yeah, so I was a flight surgeon because they made me be one. But to get into the orthopedic residency program, when I was training, you had to go into the field for 2 years to either be a flight surgeon or a general medical doctor. You couldn't get into that program straight out of medical school. So I was accepted with a 2-year deferment for that position, which really bothered me because I had saved a year in college and I just blew that year plus another year waiting for my position to start. But I went into the Air Force because my father was Air Force, and he knew that a $350,000 debt for medical school would be hard to pay off. Mm-hmm. And so he suggested I apply for the Air Force scholarship.
Okay, I'm sorry. How much did you say?
It's common to have a $250,000 to $350,000 debt after medical school.
Is that current, or was that 20 years ago?
Oh, that was back then. So it's probably not much different now, but it can go up to $500,000. I mean, the amount of debt that we accrue, especially with the current reimbursements that we're seeing in medicine, it's a bad equation, you know. But back then, you know, if you went to a really expensive medical school, you could see a $350,000 debt pretty easily. So what I did was I applied for the Air Force scholarship, and because I had good grades and I had a father who was an Air Force officer and I had good recommendations from my teachers, I got the Air Force scholarship. And what it did was it guaranteed me, you know, the payment of my medical school, which was not that expensive, to be honest, because I went to a state school. But it paid for medical school and my books, and then I acquired a 4-year commitment to the Air Force. So I did that so that I didn't have to pay for medical school. And it turned out that 4-year commitment turned into a 14-year stint in the Air Force. So it didn't work out the way that I thought it would, but that time kept accruing with every level of training I acquired. So I went from 4 years, and then I did 2 years as a flight surgeon, which made it 6 years. And then I did a 4-year residency after my internship, so it added another 2 years. And then by the time I was done with my fellowship and the 2 additional years for that, it was 14 years to pay back that 4 years. So I'm proud of the time I spent in the military because of what I was able to take care of. But it was, if you're looking at it for a financial reason, I would probably consider other options, to be honest. If you want to serve the military and be part of the service, you know, it's a noble profession for sure. We're taking care of people who definitely deserve the best medical care on the planet. They do so much for this country and even so much for other countries and the people of other countries that it's the least we could do for them. So I'm honored to have taken care of them, especially when I was deployed to Iraq. But it was a tough time, you know, being in the military, being deployed. I had little kids at home. It was really hard on my family, and you know that time was it was a challenging time for sure.
I'm sure. I'm sure. So, what would it look like to be a flight surgeon? Like, how does that look? How many hours are you in the air?
Yeah, so a flight surgeon is basically, it sounds probably much cooler than it really is, but you're a primary care doctor that takes care of pilots and their families. So whatever squadron you're assigned to, you fly that plane. And I was assigned to a base at Lackland Air Force Base. So when we flew, we would either go fly the training planes at Randolph Air Force Base, which were T-38s. They do all the cool aerobatic stuff where they do the flips and the aileron rolls and the barrel rolls and all the stuff that makes you sick. But it's really cool. You get to fly with the training pilots, and then also the big, what we call heavies, the big giant planes, the C141s, the C130s, and the C5s, the big planes that are the cargo planes in the military. We got to fly those. So you basically are sitting either next to the pilot. They let you control the plane as well, and you get to do, in the T-38, you get to do some of the acrobatic moves. But the big heavy planes, you just sit there and you get a ride. You don't do a lot, you know. But you're basically a doctor that takes care of pilots and their families. So as a result of that, you get to fly. Some people are assigned to fighter squadrons where they get to fly F-16s and really cool planes. And a lot of people really enjoy that time as a flight surgeon. For me, I enjoyed it, but I was ready to get done. You know, I had a goal to be an orthopedic surgeon, and every day that delayed that was a little bit annoying to me, to be honest. So it was cool, but I was ready to be an orthopedic surgeon.
Well, and you had family waiting for you at home, the wife and the kids, and you were ready to come back home and get started, I'm sure. But, wow, so you actually got to fly some of those planes?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So you must have really good eyesight too.
I did. I don't know if it's good anymore.
Wow. Okay. So then I wrote down that this, and I want to say it correctly, because I'm curious how this looks in life other than just seeing it written down. Okay. So forgive me again that I'm not trained on all this, but only fellow for the highly competitive and prestigious Combined Orthopedic and Neurosurgical Spine Surgery Fellowship at the Mayo Clinic. Was this for you a dream come true, or did you even know that it was available when you were awarded for your hard work with that?
Oh yeah, so getting into a fellowship is kind of like getting into medical school. You know, you apply to the programs that you are the most interested in. They rank you, you rank them. We call it a match. And the top ranked programs and the top ranked students start getting matched together. So when I applied for my fellowship, I knew that I wanted to train at a premier program. So I applied to all the top programs in the country. And the two top programs for me were a hospital called the Hospital for Special Surgery, and then also the Mayo Clinic. And then there were some other ones that were amazing, like Emory, USC, UCLA. I applied to some big programs. But the two that were best were the Cornell affiliated program, which is called the Hospital for Special Surgery in New York, and then the Mayo Clinic. And so I actually got into both of those programs, but I chose Mayo because when I got there, the personality of the people there matched my personality best. They were very humble and they were gracious, and they introduced themselves even though they were world famous by their first names. And getting to that program was not easy. They took one fellow in the entire country. So when I got into that program back then, it was shocking and amazing all at the same time. It was almost as hard as it was actually harder than getting into the orthopedic program in the Air Force, because when I got into the orthopedic surgery program, we only took four residents in the entire country for the entire Air Force. So everybody that got into that program was top in their class, and it was really a difficult program to get accepted to. So when I got into there, I was shocked, and I can't even explain or express my gratitude for those guys bringing me into that program. But even more so when I got into the Mayo Clinic, because Mayo Clinic is the #1 program in the country.
Wow!
So that was a huge blessing.
And still to today, the Mayo Clinic is still the #1.
Yeah, if you look at the rankings of the programs in orthopedic surgery and neurosurgery, Mayo Clinic is always top 1, top 2, top 3. It teeters between Hopkins, HSS, and Mayo. So they go back and forth. Some of that's based on research dollars that year and different accomplishments. But it's always one of the top programs, if not the top program of both those departments. So, training there has been honestly everything. Everything that I do in my job now as a spine surgeon comes from Mayo, my Mayo training, and of course I've continued to learn and grow and build on my knowledge, but I mean, everything that I have success-wise and all the things that separate and differentiate what I do from the average surgeon is a testament to the things that they've trained me at Mayo and my foundation that I got there.
Do you do any kind of educational for other doctors? Are you go do like speaking engagements or showcase anything for other doctors?
Honestly, I did when I was active duty, and I don't anymore because I frankly don't have the time. I'm so busy between the two cities and being a family-oriented guy. I don't really have the additional time to take to go to conferences and to give. I could easily do that, and I have in the past, but I have made a conscious decision to not do that so that I could be with my family in my free time.
Okay. Well, so kind of talking about your kids, and I, of course, have had the pleasure and honor to get to know your kids a bit, and I just adore all of them. I have a heart for Miss Alexa. She's so special. Yeah. Do you feel like any of your kids want to go in the direction of medical, in any form of medical?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Medicine is a challenge, and I think that they see the hours that I work, they see the struggles that we face. Mm-hmm. From the outside, people think medicine is probably, there's they will never take away the reward of patient outcomes from doctors. Mm-hmm. And the thing that drives me every day is seeing patients come back after having terrible tragedies and having terrible pain and having sometimes failed surgery 12 to 15 times before they get to me, and turning that around and getting them back functioning and working and living their life and working out and building their bodies and just enjoying their lives again. That reward will never go away. And I think that every doctor who has those kinds of outcomes, no matter what their specialty is, I think that's what continues to drive us. But financially speaking, it's very challenging, and the administrative changes that have happened in medicine are making it very difficult. By the time we pay for the cost of a private practice and the overhead that it requires, there's very little left, and even though from the outside it looks amazing and lucrative, it's not nearly what people think. The majority of the profit in medicine goes away from the doctor. 92%, in fact, is made by everybody else. And so doctors are struggling. Doctors are retiring early. Doctors are joining hospitals, and it's become more and more difficult in medicine. So again, what drives me is the outcomes, and that reward I don't think you can replace with very many jobs in the world. I just can't imagine, but the reward is amazing. I just think my kids see the struggle in the hours that I work, and I don't think that that's really enticing to them. So they all have different gifts as well. And my daughter Alexa is brilliant, and she's got a mind for law and entertainment, and she's probably in English, an expert in English and literature. And so my guess is that Alexa will one day be either an entertainment attorney, or she'll do something in the movies, or like a screenwriter. She's really talented in those ways. And then my son, Caden, is very entrepreneurial. He's very business-minded, and he definitely wants to be some kind of investment banker or something along the lines of business. My son, Colton, probably wants to be a producer or a director or an actor. He's hilarious. He's got a big, huge personality and a big imagination that goes along with it. And Ava is only 5. My 5-year-old is so young. She's the sweetest thing on the planet, but we still haven't yet to see. She might be a famous soccer player. She's super athletic, but they're all so different, and none of them seem to be interested in medicine, to be honest.
So no one's going to take over the seer practice.
I don't think so. That when they realize it takes you until you're 32 to even begin working, it's, they're like, I have to wait till I'm 32. I have to be in school till I'm 32. It's a long time. It's a long time.
It is a long time. Well, you've definitely have a legacy there, and I'm sure God will continue to bless that as you go through this next few chapters, I suppose, and the kids. Yeah. So, okay. So I don't know that anyone's gotten our question. I'm going to throw it out there again, and then we're going to go to our rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So, and then we're going to come back and talk about kind of where you are right now with the skincare line and the nutrition line. So, okay, you guys, if you tuned in a little bit later, do we have somebody? I see Kona is saying, we've got someone. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Jason Castillo. He actually won our giveaway tonight, Dr. Sear. He says breakdancing.
Yeah, that's true.
I know
Jason.
you. Yeah, Jason, congratulations. Jason, if you could, let's see, what does he say? He has been he has been huge since high school, always in the gym or study and still humble and a great friend. Jason Castillo. Aw.
That's my buddy from school. You know, we went to school in the Philippines. He's cheating a little bit. He knew the answer. He saw me breaking back in middle school and high school. So,
Okay, before we go to break before we go to rapid fire questions, can you tell us about your background in breakdancing and popping?
yeah, popping. Yeah.
Like, where did that come from and how do you use it now? And then we're going to go to
Well,
rapid questions.
it's a cool party trick. You know, when I was growing up, my father was in the Air Force, like I said earlier, and we were assigned to the Philippines for 8 years. So for all of middle school and almost all of high school until the middle of my senior year, we were assigned to a base in the Philippines called Clark Air Base. And on that, it was one of the biggest bases in the Air Force in the world. And there were a huge population of kids from all over the country, which really made for a cool experience and a cool youth. So we had people from the East Coast and the West Coast and the North and the South. And during that time, it was in the early 80s when I first got there. And breaking and popping and rapping was a big part of the culture on base. A lot of the American kids loved rapping, and eventually breaking and popping became very popular. And it was so popular there that the most popular kids were the kids that could break and pop, not the ones who could play football. Because I played football, but I got popular from breaking. So when we started popping and breaking, and when I was in the 6th and 7th grade, and my brother was in high school. So I was the only kid in the middle school on the breakdancing crew, our breaking crew of high school kids. So I got popular in both the high school and the middle school because we'd go to dances and we'd compete, and we always won our competitions, and then we eventually do talent shows and won those, and won so many they made us be the special attraction, so we couldn't compete anymore. But it's honestly how I got noticed in high school, and it's how I met Leanne, my wife, because she was there also. And she was in middle school a year behind me when I was 13 and she was 12, and I was well known for my breaking and popping, and she would come to the dances to watch us dance, and so she liked me and I kind of liked her, but I was 13 and I was a knucklehead, so you know nothing ever happened because we were so young. And then she left to the States, and I stayed there all the way through almost all of high school, and that's when I eventually came back to San Antonio in the middle of my senior year in high school. But breaking and popping was a big part of our culture, and it brought us together. One of the coolest things about growing up in the Philippines, Jason is part Hispanic, part white. You know, I have friends that are Black and Filipino and Thai and Vietnamese and just name it, Korean. I mean, every culture that you can imagine that makes up America, those kids were represented there. And a lot of the kids were biracial, and so it was a really cool melting pot of people from different parts of the country. And so everybody had different perspectives, and we really learned to maneuver the crowd, you know, and to become friends with, and sometimes even to date people of different races and cultures. And it was just a really cool, eye-opening experience for me. And probably the most formative time in my life was spending my time with all of my friends in the Philippines. And I think that really made me grow as a person and led me to being a lot of who I am today, you know, just having a multicultural perspective on everything. My mom is a foreign-born woman as well. She's part Spanish, Filipino, and my dad's American. And so, you know, I saw culture. I saw a different culture. I grew up in the Philippines, seeing poverty at drastic, terrible, you know, rates and scale. And so you get to really appreciate America when you come back, you know, especially being gone for 8 years. You come back and you're like a foreigner yourself. So you see what it's like to have the privileges and the luxuries of America. Even though we lived on base, you know, we didn't live a luxurious life. We were military kids, and then you go off base and people literally lived in cardboard houses, and it was really bad. So those kinds of things gave me a real perspective on life, and just being grateful to be in this amazing country. I love this country because of the opportunity, and you can be anything and then become anything. You can start from the bottom and become whatever you want to be in America. And so I really saw that from different perspectives and all the different experiences I had in the Philippines growing up.
That's so such a beautiful message to share. And I wonder if more people had to have that experience now, like if you could take a lot of the people that are frustrated, I guess, to put it mildly and nicely, about, America, like to take them and take them out of America and give them a different exposure and experience, I think they would change their minds a lot about being here.
It's really hard to get that perspective if you stay in America, especially if you stay in your own city. Yeah. There's a global perspective that we don't get unless we leave this country and go not to the luxurious parts of the world. I mean, I'm not talking about the beaches in Hawaii,
right,
or even Europe.
Right.
I'm talking about going to developing nations, third world countries, to where what real poverty is when you see little kids that don't have clothes. They're walking around with no clothes on, and they're begging. They're washing cars, and they're 3 years old, and they're begging for money. And every time the monsoon or the hurricane hits, they call it the monsoon, from July through October, their houses wash away because they're made out of cardboard. I mean, they're eating off trash heaps. And I mean, there's real poverty there that we don't see in America. And so I think that we become kind of ignorant to how bad it is other places and how good we have it here, because we've never seen what real poverty and what real struggle looks like. And being in the Philippines or being in a third world country, you start to really appreciate what America can offer, an opportunity. America is far from perfect because it's filled with people, and people are full of sin, but the bottom line is the opportunity here that you can accomplish anything, no matter where you're from. You could be a military kid like me and go to the Mayo Clinic one day. You could be Barack Obama and be of a biracial family and become the president of the United States. I mean, honestly, you could be Oprah and become Oprah. It's an amazing country, and I think that people just aren't aware of how amazing it is because they only focus on the negative things that are people oriented. And you just have to eliminate that. And we still need to grow and get together. We definitely need to unify as a people and appreciate each other for our differences. But there's been a lot of dissent and tension that I really wish that we could get away from, because that harmony that we felt in the Philippines, we didn't care what color you were. We cared what kind of person you were. And I wish that America could be more like that. And I think one day we'll get back to that.
I hope so too. All right. Well, we're going to go over to rapid fire questions.
All right.
We got some 10 random fun questions for you, Doc. And Jason, I need you to send me an email, info@monicabrandt.com, if you don't mind, and that way I can connect you. I guess y'all already know each other, but
he cheated.
He cheated, but that's okay. Okay, so yeah, email me, Jason, info@monicabrandt.com, so I can connect with you. All right, so our first rapid fire question, Doc. What's the most unhealthy food item you ate today?
Oh, I would say, a turkey burger.
All right, that's not real unhealthy, but we'll go with that. All right, what's the last song you lip synced to? Or sang?
Honestly, probably Mirrors with my son.
Aw. All right, what's your favorite glute exercise?
Favorite glute?
Yeah.
I like lunges.
Okay, good. What's your least favorite chest exercise that you do anyways?
Least favorite? Probably dips.
Dips? Okay. All right. List one way that Leanne, your beautiful wife, helps you be the best version of you.
Oh, man. Just one way?
I know, right? Well, we only have so much time.
My wife is honestly the most amazing mother on the planet. And if you have a life like I do that's spread between cities and hours and hours and hours of working, you have to have a wife at home who understands the responsibilities that you carry every day and taking care of other people's lives and health. And the fact that she's a supportive wife, by being an amazing mother who's present for our kids, has really helped our kids to grow and to be healthy and to have a healthy perspective on the times that I'm not there and in my absence. Without having a second parent who was strong and who was loving at the same time, I think my kids potentially have gone the wrong direction. But if, like, my kids are grounded and humble and devoted and faithful and all those things, and a lot of that I attribute to my wife. So being an amazing mother, I think, is one of the many things that she has done to support me.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. The times that I've been around your children, they adore you and Leanne, and it's very easily evident. And I just love that, because I know that you're gone a lot, and a lot of times when dads are off working, kids just kind of, aren't so tuned into their parents. But I've always been impressed and loved witnessing how much your children love both of you and respect, honor, and cherish the time with you guys. Okay, get back to my questions here. Most rewarding thing about being a dad?
Just seeing them accomplish successful, being successful, and watching them become eventually who they're going to be individually. Each kid is different, and I love watching their maturity and them starting to realize what their talents and gifts are and expressing themselves individually, because they're all so different. That's one of the most rewarding things, is seeing who they're going to be and what God has made them, and seeing them fulfill that destiny. And my kids are still young, so my oldest is 18, and then I have a 15-year-old and a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. So each stage of their lives has been amazing to watch. But I love when you start to see and they start to realize what their blessings are, and they start to tap into those things. And I think eventually, as an adult, it's going to be amazing to see what they do with their lives.
Absolutely. All right. Name one favorite Cyr holiday tradition. Any holiday.
Oh, my favorite is when the real Santa Claus comes to our house on Christmas Day.
That's great.
That's amazing for the kids.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. How many years have you guys been doing that?
Since having Alexa Santa was 2, so for 16 years.
Okay, that's a tradition. Describe in 3 words Stephen as a teenager.
Wow. As a teenager?
Yeah.
I would say driven. Driven, kind-hearted, athletic.
There you go. Just like you are still today. All right. If you could walk in the shoes of a famous bodybuilder, who would it be? Whose shoes would it be?
Oh, I think there are so many amazing bodybuilders, and you've had a lot of them on your show, guys. I really respect, because I've been reading bodybuilding magazines since I was 14.
Right.
So I know all of the people you've brought on are, we're contemporaries, right? So the people that you grew up with are the people I grew up with, reading and respecting. But I think the person who put bodybuilding on the map, of course, is Arnold, and I would love to see what it was like from a foreign country, and then making bodybuilding a worldwide phenomenon, and then ultimately, going through that into the realm of acting, and then becoming a box office hit, and then becoming a governor. I mean, I would love to see the mentality of Arnold in his heyday. Walking in his shoes would be pretty cool, probably.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, if you could be anything else, and maybe we've already asked this, aside from being this elite spine surgeon, what other career path would you have wanted? And you may have already said this, but has your view changed maybe up to this point in life?
I think I would have loved to be a really, really popular actor. I think that'd have been cool.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And what kind of roles would you have played?
Action for sure.
Action.
Martial art, action. Yeah, that's my genre for sure.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, we have some more conversation pieces here I want to dive in a little bit more to. So we're going to take a really quick break. Guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Dr. Stephen Cyr.
Hi, my name is Barbara Casarin. I am a traveling makeup artist, hairstylist. I go to you at any location, at your house, hotel, anywhere you like. I offer makeup from full service makeup to lashes, brows, just eyes. I offer blowouts, hairstyles, updos, and hair treatments.
Dr. Stephen Cyr is a Mayo Clinic fellowship-trained spine surgeon. He's earned a sterling reputation in performing complex revision surgeries of the spine. His countless reviews and testimonials speak volumes to both the quality of his outcomes and his compassionate bedside manner. If you're looking for a surgeon you can trust, someone who will focus on your individualized needs to craft the perfect surgical solution, look no further. Call us to get your life back.
Hey guys, we're super excited to be here at the LA Fit Expo. It's our third year in a row. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be launching a tasty pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs. And we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
All right, I'm back. We're back. I'm Monica Brandt. You're watching the Monica Brandt Show, and I've got my special guest tonight, Dr. Stephen Cyr. So we're back. Okay, so Doc, I want to know, you've got a new skincare line, you've got a new nutrition line, and you're stepping outside of, what you've been doing for the last, almost 3 decades, 2 decades. So stepping into this nutrition, being, having a nutrition on the skincare line. So let's talk about that a little bit. What made you develop these lines?
Sure. Well, we'll start with the skincare line because I did that first. Necessity is the mother of invention, right, is what they say. So what happened with the skincare line is my wife, who's half Vietnamese, started to suffer from pretty bad melasma after having 3 children. And so she was really disturbed by the discoloration of her cheeks. And so I started asking some friends of mine to try to see if they could treat her. And I sent her to facial plastic surgeons, dermatologists. I sent her to a lot of people, that prescription medications, laser treatments, and literally nothing worked. And a friend of mine who's a cosmetic surgeon, I was talking to him and working with him, and he told me about a product that he really liked. So I brought her home a sample of that product, and it really started to fade the melasma for the first time in all the years that we had tried to treat it. The problem is when she ran out, they were no longer making that product. And so I looked on the bottle and I figured out who the manufacturer was. And so I called them, they were in LA, and I asked them about the product and why they were no longer making it. And I guess they had made the product at a prescription strength and they had to take it off the market. They said, but if you're a physician, because I called them as Dr. Cyr, they said, if you're a physician, we can make your own product for you under your license and under your title. And so I started thinking about that. And, I wanted my wife to have the clear skin that she was looking for. And I felt like it was really the only option. So I said, well, I can do that, I guess. They were like, well, if you want to do your own line, you can start with 4 products and we can make an entire line for you. So I started thinking about all the gaps in the treatment of my patients and in my family. And when I see patients, even though I'm a spine surgeon, I actually look at their whole body. Like I'm thinking about globally, how am I going to get you better, healthy? I don't just think about tunnel vision view of your spine. I'm thinking about, okay, well, how are you in your fitness? How's your health? How's your nutrition? How are you looking? Are you healthy on the inside? Are you healthy on the outside? So I really try to walk them through getting their lives back in more than just the relief of their spine pain. I also look at just getting their bodies fit, because a lot of them have really, unfortunately, let themselves go because out of an inability to work out, because their back is in terrible pain. They couldn't do anything for years. And so a lot of them have lost their fitness. They haven't been eating healthy. And so one of the things that I realized was that I need to look at my patients globally so that I can not only help what they have now, but try to prevent them from coming back. I don't want my patients to ever come back to me. I want to do, if I have to do surgery, and I don't do surgery on everybody, I do surgery on a very small percentage of who I see, but if I have to do surgery on them, I want them to have surgery and never come back. So I talk to them about working out. I talk to them about what they're eating. I talk to them about, just supplements that they could take to help boost their healing. And so I realized that one of the things that I see on my patients is, when I do surgery, especially revision surgery, some of them have terrible scars. And I always remove the scar and try to revise it and make it look more cosmetic, but I also want to inhibit scar formation. So I talked to them about making a scar cream, and I talked to them about making acne creams for my kids, because my kids were teenagers at the time and still are. So I looked at those things. And then I also, of course, everybody who's involved in a skincare regimen that knows anything about the skin knows that you have to protect your skin from the sun, which is one of the things that causes the most damage to our skin. So I started with 4 products, and out of, trying those products on my family, to be honest, and seeing how they worked in my family, I realized that the products were actually pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. And so Leanne really got behind the products because they were such good quality, and working with the chemists and the estheticians in the company, we really started to formulate a really nice line of products that we hoped that everybody could take advantage of. So that was the birth of the skincare line, kind of out of necessity for treating my wife initially, and then ultimately in treating my patients.
Well, I have to say I have enjoyed my skincare products that I received from you guys and using those. I love the cleanser, the antioxidant cream. I use the collagen. What is it called? I know
serum.
The serum, right? Yeah. And I absolutely love, and every time I've worn both, and I'll have to say both of the sunblocks, the tinted one and the one that's not tinted, people love it. They're always like, what do you have on your skin? So
yeah,
I absolutely love those. Yeah. And it's interesting because right before I got to try the products from you guys, I was looking for a very healthy, clean, tinted more sunblock for myself, because I had one and I was happy with it, but I was not happy with how dirty I found out it was.
Yeah, that was one of, as a doctor, I can't put out products that I can't stand behind, so mm-hmm. One of the things that I wanted to make sure of is that it didn't have sulfates or parabens or gluten, and there was cruelty free, and there was no formaldehyde or urea or preservatives that actually made the product unhealthy. The chemicals that we see, especially in sunscreens today, 72% of sunscreens have damaging chemicals that create allergic reactions, and they don't even filter out the cancer producing rays from the sun. So a lot of those sunscreens are really bad for you. So I wanted to make sure that each of my products that I released was kind of compliant with all my demands of high quality and hormone free and preservative free. So yeah, the products they're very effective, and I use a lot of them. I'm 49. I know we're close to being the same age. So in the past, I didn't really realize how important it was to take care of your skin. I put sunblock on when I went in the sun, but that was it. But now I use all the same products you're talking about. I use the hair growth serum. I use the collagen youth serum. When I shave, I use the Ultra Recovery Cream as an anti-shave, for just for skin chafing. I use it it's really effective for that. I use the retinol eye cream. I use it all.
I have the retinol one too. That's right.
I use almost all my products. I use the injection-free serum. I use the shampoo and conditioner. I literally do use everything, and I really love it. The acne creams and the acne cleanser has been amazingly effective for my kids and for their friends. We have people that have had cystic acne, kids that have had acne that was treated by Accutane and prescription medications. Faces always beet red. A lot of the over-the-counter acne solutions create inflammation and redness of the skin because of all the things we talked about, the chemicals and the preservatives. Mm-hmm. And our line is free of all that stuff. And we have the world's first micronized benzoyl peroxide in our acne cleanser and our serum. And it's highly effective. So it gets beneath the epidermis to the area where the acne is pretty severe, and it eradicates that acne pretty quickly. You'll see patients that have had acne treated unsuccessfully by prescriptions for years have used our product. Like within 2 days, we have our kids' friends calling us saying, holy mackerel, my skin is clear in 2 days. Even with cystic acne, we've had people report similar results. So that's pretty dramatic. I'm really proud of the line. I spent a lot of time trying to craft the right line and get the right products out there for everybody. The sunscreens are safe for everybody because they're physical sunscreens with titanium and zinc. And so our 5-year-old uses it. We don't put any of the chemical-based sunscreens on our kids. They use the sunscreen in our line, and it's safe for people all the way down to 5 and all the way up to 100. So it's a really nice line. I'm really proud of it.
So do you use the tinted sunblock for yourself?
I do. I use a tinted sunblock under my eyes, so my eyes don't get dark.
Yeah, it's nice. It gives you a nice healthy glow.
Yeah, it does. And
That's,
guys
that's
can't wear
awesome.
makeup, or they can, I guess, but
Well, they can, but
wouldn't
yeah.
look right. But I can use sunscreen. So
That's awesome. All right, so you've got this be healthy on the inside and fit on the outside. What does this mean to you personally?
well, I think it's all about how you take care of your body. What kind of, I physically, I have to work out because my job is very physically demanding. People don't realize how manual spine surgery or orthopedic surgery is, but we're putting screws in bones, and we're retracting muscles, and it's very physically demanding. And I stand over patients, have a lead gown on for 8 hours at a time, and so I have to make sure that I stay healthy and fit. So I work out as often as I can, and I eat as healthy as I can. So like I said earlier, I try to impart those things to my patients. People ask me all the time, well, what supplements do you take? What protein should I take?
Mm-hmm.
How do you stay fit at 49, working 80 to 100 hours a week?
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep the energy level? A lot of my friends from the Philippines actually work in the OR with me, and they ask me all the time, tell everybody what you take. What supplements do you take? Because you have nonstop energy and you do these big surgeries and you never seem tired. And how do you do it? And I think a lot of it is how you take care of yourself on the inside. What you put in your body. I try to eat as lean as I can. I try to eat as healthy as I can. And I've gotten more into, I never, in the past, I wasn't really that great at following the organic diets. But after talking to you and Nico, I started to focus more on organic and non-GMO stuff. But in addition to that, I try to take enough supplements to fulfill all the gaps, to fill all the gaps in my diet, and then stay real diligent with a high protein diet to maintain muscle mass and just my fitness level in general. But I try to get my patients to do all the same things, and that's kind of how the CRMD nutrition line was birthed. I had patients asking me, well, what do I need to do to stay healthy? And I have a lot of patients that do not eat healthy at all, and part of the reason they have back problems is because they've gained a lot of weight. And so in addition to trying to get them lean, I also need them to heal. So high protein diets are very important for that. When bone surgery is being done, whether it's a fracture or a fusion, I have people take calcium and vitamin D. And I really love beetroot, and I love the nitric oxide, supplements that you can take to help boost your blood flow and the oxygen capacity of your cells. And, it decreases your blood pressure, it increases your oxygenation to your lungs, it decreases your risk of infection, improves your healing of your wounds. So all of these things, over the years, people have asked me repetitively, what do I take? What kind of supplements do you take? How do I, not look 49 or 50 when I am? And so I tell them all the products that I take, and I realize I'm just sending everybody to Amazon. Why don't I just have a line of products that I can show them that I take, that I believe in? This is the type of supplement I take. This is the type of vitamin regimen I follow. And here it is for you. So it's easy. So that was part of the reason that I started looking at having my own nutrition line, and it's been very effective. So when I do surgery on people, I give them my protein and I give them my mega vitamin because I want them to heal, and I'm seriously devoted to their health. So I'm giving them some of the products to help boost their healing, and people are really enjoying the products.
Oh, for sure.
We have that available.
Well, and your success speaks for itself. So I'm assuming people are going to really be excited about following what you're advising in every area. So speaking of that, how do you help people, kind of going backwards a little bit here, but back to keeping a healthy spine? Like, what would you recommend people to do to keep their spine as healthy as possible and avoid surgery?
Well, one of the keys, I think, is avoiding impact. As we get older, especially, no matter what you do, no matter how fit you were or are, if you continually, repetitively impact your discs or put a lot of excessive torque, which is twisting on your spine, you're going to find that your discs are going to wear out faster, your joints are going to wear out faster. And there are some people, I think, that can run and lift and jump and do all those things into their later years, but I think that you're taking a risk because part of the aging process is that we start to lose water or hydration in our tissues. And if your discs are dry because you're older, which they will be, then they're more prone to tearing. So even sneezing or turning or twisting, and especially doing things with aggressive impact or plyometric type exercises or cheat sets, real aggressive cheat sets, they can lead your discs to tearing. And so what I tell everybody is, I want you to build your body. I think weightlifting is an important part of every life and every lifestyle, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're young or old. I want all my patients to build their bone density by lifting weights. So I tell all my patients to lift weights, but I tell them my preference is for you to lift old school bodybuilding, traditional weightlifting. So really good form, good biomechanics, very few cheat sets, if any at all. You're not trying to be a bodybuilder. You don't want to be the most fit person on the planet. You just want to protect and build your body. And you need a muscular envelope around your joints and your spine, especially. So you want to build the muscles around your spine. You're very focused on posterior chains. I talk to people about their posterior chain. I talk to them about core muscles. So core is key. You want to build your core. And so I'm always talking about core, posterior chain. I'm talking about flexibility constantly. As we get older, we lose flexibility. A lot of people have pain because they're just tight and they're not stretching anymore. They stop stretching. So I try to get everybody to stay flexible. I show them stretches, talk about their glute stretching, their IT band, their hamstrings. I mean, I do it all. Abdominal stretching, your quad stretching. I want you to have a balance of muscular strength and flexibility. So I try to get people to cycle, to swim, to do the elliptical, groups of exercises like Pilates and yoga, and then weight training. Careful weight training. I think that's a key to maintaining a fit body so that you can function later into your life. And then there are functional activities. You run and you do sprints, and I think some functional exercise is important. I box, I do martial arts, and then I weight train. So all of those things I think are important. Just stay fit, stay engaged. It'll keep you young.
Those are all very, very good tips and advice. Just a couple of random questions here. Do you do any, we call it LSD, long, slow distance cardio? Is that even something that you do at all?
I'm really not that good at cardio. I probably need to do better at cardio. When I do cardio, I usually will do boxing, which is very cardio intensive. It's heavy.
Some more anaerobic.
I literally almost die every time we train with our boxing coach.
That's awesome.
But in addition to that, I usually do HIIT, like on the elliptical. I have a bad knee. I have an ACL that I've had reconstructed twice, and I had a failure the second time, so I have to have it repaired again. So I try to minimize any kind of impact, even on a treadmill or even soft jogging. So I do the elliptical and I do HIIT. So I'll do fast, slow, 1 minute intervals, and I'll do that for 20 minutes. So that's as intense as I get in my aerobic workouts.
Okay. But you get your heart rate up. That's the most important piece, right? Is that your heart rate's getting up. Cool. And what about, what do you do with your weekly training? Like, just kind of in a nutshell, do you do like arms one day and back one day? And
I still work out old school. Like, and there's all kinds of new fangled, programs. There's people that are just doing 40, like 30 minutes or 15 minutes or auto body weight. I work out like an old school. I still, I'm still stuck in those days where I was reading Muscle and Fitness and Iron Man. So what I do is I still do a 4-day split, even if I don't get to all 4 days in the week. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I get 1 day a week or 2 days a week. But I like what I do last week. So I start with whatever I left off with. But I still do a 4-day split. So for me, I'll do chest and triceps usually. It's my typical routine. And then I'll do back and biceps. And I'll do shoulders on their own. I'll do delts and traps on their own day because there's so many muscle groups involved. And then I'll do my legs separately. And then sometimes I'll mix it up where I'll do arms and then chest and back. But that's generally the program that I follow. And I try to do between 12 and 16. There's so many people on this forum that are probably way more experienced and expert than I am in working out. But this is what I do. I do a 12 to 16 set workout, and I try to do 6 to 10 reps per exercise per set to positive failure. So that's my routine.
That's great. As far as working out, I know you have your gym at home, but that's now in Houston. So when you're here in San Antonio, do you work out, or is it just kind of in and out and there's no workout time?
I'm in and out, and I'm in the clinic until 11 o'clock at night sometimes. So I rarely work out when I'm here. Yeah. Makes sense. My work is work out a little bit, I guess. Yeah.
Well, when you're operating, you're standing, right?
I'm standing the entire time. Yeah.
So are you squeezing your glutes?
I don't know. I probably am. I'm leaning forward. I'm sure I am.
So you need to make sure you're squeezing your glutes when you're leaning forward because it takes the pressure off. And the only thing that I can relate, and I know this is completely not the same, but when I'm brushing my teeth, I stand up, and if I lean forward, I engage my glutes so that all my weight isn't on my knees and my low back inappropriately. And that's just something I do out of habit on myself. And
Yeah, that's good. You're really focused on that. I remember when you were training Alexa, you really helped her to key in on that. That's good. That,
you're like,
in mind. I'll try to remember. I'm squeezing my glutes. People don't think I'm weird, but
no, you know what? I've been now, because it's hard for some people to actually engage their glutes. So I've been sharing with people now. It's like, think about lifting your hip bones up in the front.
yeah.
So it's like, oh, because then they engage their core a little bit, right? And it just lifts those hips, and then the glutes go underneath, and the pelvic is in the right place, and then you feel the less pressure on your knees and your ankles and your feet and the arches and everything. So it's so fun to share that little quick tip with people, and they're like, oh, so I'm always like, just lift your hips in the front, and the rest of it usually falls in place. You kind of you can't help but do that, but okay. Yeah. So about nutrition. Tell me why you chose, let's talk about your nutrition line. Why did you choose whey as opposed to a vegan plant-based?
Well, for me, I think there's more thermogenic potential in whey protein. And I know that there's a big push towards the organic vegan proteins. I just feel like you get more oomph out of a whey protein. I feel like you get more bodybuilding potential out of it. So I like whey. Eventually I'm starting small, and I've had many businesses in the past, many successful, some have failed. And what I found is that one thing that I learned over the years of having multiple different businesses is that you need to start small and be real careful about getting in over your head. I've done that before. Mm-hmm. And so what we wanted to do with both the skincare line and the nutrition line is start small and get to the things that I think that most people are going to be interested in and not have the full spectrum. There's so many different great products out there. Mm-hmm. And for me, I wanted to focus on the people that either are going to listen to me as a doctor, because there are nutrition experts that know more than I do as a doctor about nutrition. And then there are bodybuilding experts that know more than I do about bodybuilding. But I know a little bit of everything, and there's a medical background to everything that I do, right? So mm-hmm. that knowledge as a doctor, I always consider when I'm thinking about what to carry and what to offer to my patients. So for the people that are in their 40s and even in their 30s, or people that are recovering or from surgery or facing surgery or have a problem with their bodies, those are the ones that I'm really focusing on. And I think the majority of people are okay with whey. And as we grow, if the products become more popular, there becomes a bigger demand for the products in general, mm-hmm. I will eventually expand the product line into more certifiable, because a lot of our stuff is organic. We just don't have it certified because the process to do that is very expensive. So again, I'm starting basic and I'm starting small. So eventually we will have a vegan option. I'm sure of it if we do really well with the product line. Mm-hmm. And we'll change some of this. Like right now, I chose stevia and monk fruit as my sweetener for my whey, for example, because I know that they're the healthiest, alternatives to sugar. Mm-hmm. But there are some people that just don't like the flavor of stevia and monk fruit. And stevia and monk fruit together in combination are pretty good, mm-hmm. much better than stevia by itself. But there are some people that like sucralose better. And although I don't think it's quite as healthy, we may eventually offer an option with sucralose instead of just stevia and monk fruit. So there's things that I expect to expand on, both with the skincare line and in the nutrition line. But I wanted to start kind of basic to get to products that I thought most people would be interested in, even though it doesn't fill all the gaps for sure.
Sure. What are if you had some patient come to you and you could suggest 3 of your products and they only said, I can only do 3 products, that's all the money I have, what 3 products would you send them to?
If it was just a regular person not recovering from surgery, I would say my whey protein, the mega vitamin, and our beetroot. Ours is called beetroot powder, but it's really a powder compressed into a pill. So the beetroot pills, because it's a nitric oxide supplement, and I think everybody needs that. I think everybody needs a nitric oxide boost.
And you would say that over an omega?
Maybe because the mega vitamin has a lot of it has vitamin E in it. It even has some herbs in it that I think will give you a similar benefit. But yeah, omega-3 is a good one too. That's that's a good point.
Right, inflammation, I guess, right? All right, the last question I have for you is, we've had a lot of families that come on and parents that come on here. How do you, because I personally know all your kids are involved in your athletic endeavors and they're in the gym with you and exercising. So how do you, or maybe can you share some tips for parents maybe that tune in here on how to encourage their kids to exercise?
Well, I think you make it a family affair. For me, I don't really need to learn how to box. I've been doing martial arts for 30 years, but I knew that if I wanted my kids to box and if I did it with them, they'd be more motivated to do it. So I box with them, and they're a tough boxing coach every week because I want them to be able to, number one, defend themselves, and number two, to be fit. And I really believe boxing is a great way to accomplish both of those goals. And so I do it with them. When they do other sports that I don't do, like, for example, basketball. I have a bad knee, but I play basketball with my son despite it because I want to make sure that he gets to hone his skills as a basketball player. So I'll even just rebound the ball and go out there and let him shoot the ball around. When it comes to martial arts, my 10-year-old does martial arts. So I started training in his dojo. So I pay for mat space in his dojo so that while he's doing his karate lesson, I'm doing mine simultaneously on the other side of the gym.
Okay.
So I do things like that. When my 5-year-old does soccer, I'm not going to jump in on her soccer lesson, but we make sure either my wife or I are there supporting her and watching her. And I think just being supportive of them and talk to them about fitness and being healthy and, not as much about the way you look, but more about how you feel and the fact that you need to live a functional life and, look a certain way to be healthy, not necessarily because you're so focused on your looks, but just talk to them constantly about being healthy and living a healthy life. And I think that if they see you modeling that behavior, they're more likely to copy it. If you sit at home on the couch all day watching football and you don't do anything else physical, then they're going to be less likely to be involved in athletics. So we make it a family fair. We get everybody involved, and we're supportive of everything they do.
That makes sense. Well, I've seen you guys do that, so I know you. I've witnessed it. I've witnessed it. Okay, so I think we've got a question here from Victor. It says, "What does Dr. Cyr think about pro strength niacinamide discoloration?" I'm not sure how to say it. Niacinamide discoloration that's sold at Sephora shops. Friend read an article about
I don't know about that product specifically, but niacinamide is a good product. We have products that have niacinamide in them as well. Niacinamide is it's a B vitamin. It helps. It's an antioxidant. It helps boost your cellular health. So I think niacinamide is a good product. We actually have a product that some of our products have niacinamide and antioxidants, and the skincare line is pretty full spectrum. Even though our nutrition line is we have 19 products. I guess it's not super.
No, you have a big line.
That's a pretty good number of products, I guess. But
yeah.
But our skincare line is really, and the beauty of our products is because they're medical grade. In general, I would say that they're more effective than the products you're going to find on the counter of any retail market store, because a medical grade product doesn't have a shelf life that can last forever. So it doesn't have preservatives that make it less effective. It has active ingredients that make it more effective. And that's why medical grade products can only be carried either by medical spas or physicians. So it's much more effective than the things you'll find in most retail stores. Medical grade is a whole nother level of effectivity. So whatever you may find somewhere in a retail store, I think our products are most likely more effective.
All right. Well, that's great information. So, Dr. Cyr, will you just share with everyone how they can find you, how they can find the product lines, and
sure.
we'll start closing up here because.
Oh, sure. So
hard to say bye, though.
To find me in general, we're on all the social media sites. I would say Instagram and Facebook. On Facebook, we're under SA Spine, and I'm under Serious Surgical on Instagram, and we're also under surgical.associates.in.spine on Instagram. And then to find the nutrition line, our website is CyrXMDnutrition.com, and our skincare line is CyrXMDskincare.com. So they're pretty simple. Cyr spelled CYRMD.
That's awesome. I like that. Well, I really enjoyed our conversation tonight, and thank you so much, Dr. Cyr, for taking time. I know your schedule is insane, and I really don't know how you fit everything in and play all the sports with your kids and teach them how to study and take care of your wife. And I know she does a lot to take care of you too. I adore your family, and I'm so thankful to know you guys.
And we adore you too, and we're grateful you're a part of our lives. And you're doing an amazing job with the show. I've seen some of the amazing icons you've had on the show that are top of their game and still, you know, will be legends in their sports for years to come, including yourself. So
Thank you.
thank you for having me on the show. And, you know, just in general, I would say if you have any questions, you can find us on Facebook. But our practice is based in San Antonio and Houston. And if you have a spine problem, you know, one of the things that I want to make sure everybody realizes is that although I'm a spine surgeon, I focus very heavily on conservative treatment. So if you have a spine problem, don't be afraid to see a spine surgeon like me, because a lot of times we're here to guide you conservatively and only talk about surgery when everything else has failed. So God bless you guys. Stay healthy, stay fit, and thank you, Monica, for having me on tonight.
Thanks, Dr. Cyr. You have a blessed rest of your night and safe drive back to Houston.
Thank you very much.
All right, tell the family hi for me.
All right, good night.
Okay, good night. All right, guys, it was awesome getting to talk to Dr. Cyr. He's got so much information and so much great tips on just keeping healthy and taking care of our bodies. And of course, he's a great representation of a healthy lifestyle and years of doing that. So really inspiring. Thank you guys so much for joining tonight to the Monica Brandt Show. We have another special guest next week. I know next week is Thanksgiving week, but I'm excited about our special guest, IFBB Pro, Bob Ciccarello. So you guys tune back in next week here at 7 o'clock Central as well. I just want to say thank you to all of my awesome sponsors, and especially to my new title sponsor, the CyrXMD nutrition line. So thank you guys so much. Jason, if you're still on, need to make sure we get in touch so I can get you your products. And you guys have a blessed rest of your night and take care of yourselves. Until next week, stay fit, love life. Signing out, Monica here.